Work-life balance. Does it even exist? Many people will say it doesn't, but I believe it does. But it takes some changes, both practically and in your mindset.
Welcome to the Awesome Human Podcast, your path to total human optimization. Ready to unleash your 100%? Let's go.
So work-life balance is something that we talk about a lot in the world of health, productivity, and just kind of like life. And when we think about it, it is a life design topic. We are trying to design our life in a way that we feel that we have balance, or I'll call it harmony, inside our work and outside of our work life. Now, within this topic, I think it's really important to define terms. When we talk about balance, we're ultimately, I'm assuming for most people, talking about the things outside of work that make us feel like we are in balance with ourselves, with life, with our health, and to get enough downtime outside of work. Now, I have no idea how much any of you listening to this work. There's many people that might be working 60-hour weeks, 50-hour weeks, 40-hour weeks, 30-hour weeks, 20 hours a week, I don't know. And that might be split up into shift patterns, who knows. So the type of work that you do very much depends on how this conversation kind of lands on you. So I will try and make it broad and general, but also give you tactics or things to think about that can help you go away and optimize things. Now, if I sound a little bit snotty and have to pause, it's because I'm recording this with the back end of COVID, third time lucky. The amount of snot I'm kind of producing is unreal, but COVID, it's the gift that keeps on giving. So work-life balance, let's talk about the work bit of this equation first. Now, one thing I think is really important, and you've probably heard me speak about this before, is trying to move yourself into a position where work for you is enjoyable. It feels purposeful. It feels like you get reward from it. That when you turn up and do the thing that you do, you're like, hey, I did some good here. I'm good at this. I'm adding to the world. I enjoy it. Because the more you hate your job, the more you will seek escapism outside of your life. The more you will want to have the life that is outside of work. Now, work for many people is an essential part of life, but I genuinely believe that everyone has to do some form of work. And it's interesting because so many people have this desire to not work, and I don't think that's true. I think people have a desire to do work that is meaningful, is purposeful. Like, if I gave you £10 million because you won the lottery, whatever, and it's like, right, you didn't have to work again, you'd be fine for a while. You'd have a lot of fun. You'd do loads of cool things. And then 2 years down the line, you'd be like, right, life's kind of getting a little bit boring. I'm lacking purpose. I don't think I'm actually doing anything for the world. And I think there's something deep within us as humans where we want to build a better world. We want to provide for our kids. We want to provide for our communities. We want to make things better, safer, more enjoyable. We want to evolve humanity. And I think that's all in us at some level. And that looks obviously different for different people based on your skill sets, your values, your natural attributes. So I don't think there's ever a real desire in us to actually be like, I don't want to work. I think that comes from a place that you're not enjoying the work that you're doing enough. And actually that's just telling you that you need change in your life. You need to think about what is next in your career. And it could just be that you've been doing the same thing for quite a while and you need to evolve. You need to start to grow as a person. And I think growth on an individual level is incredibly important. If you're feeling frustrated, stagnant, there's friction in your life, maybe because it's not you're not growing, you're not challenging yourself, you haven't got something on the horizon that you're working towards. And I feel that it's good to have growth in many areas of your business, not in your life, sorry. I don't think in all areas of your life at all times. I think that could be quite paralyzing. Like if you're really trying to grow and push hard at work, outside of work, you might just want stability. You might just want routine because there's enough going on mentally and emotionally for you to have to deal with inside your kind of work. On the flip side, there might be a lot happening in your life outside of work, like you might be caring for someone, there might be family stuff going on, like who knows, like you might have young kids and all you want to do is turn up to work, do your thing, earn your cash and like enjoy life outside of work, and that is totally cool. So when we look at the outside of work stuff, the other side of it, and I think this is where the word balance comes in, I think we want to look at what we're really trying to achieve here. And I think what we're trying to achieve is fulfillment, happiness, and enjoyment, right? Outside of work, of course, work wants to be purposeful and enjoyable and rewarding. But outside of work, we want to live life. We want to do things. We want to go on holiday. We want to stay fit. We want to tend to our garden. We want to be present with our kids. We want to go on adventures. So when it comes to work-life balance, all we're really talking about is the separation between one thing and another thing. And for many of us now, they can actually flow. And I'm a huge fan of this word flow. It's one of the 4 words that I live my life to. And that's going to be a future podcast on why these 4 words are really important to me. But this word flow, for many of us now, is more than ever an important word because so many people work from home and so many people have more flexibility. Like I have a lot of flexibility. Granted, I have created that environment for myself. I am a business owner. I get to define my terms. I get to say how much I want to work. I get to, in some respects, work towards how much I want to earn. But my work day can also be split up in different ways. So I can be like, do you know what? I'm going to do 3 hours this morning. Then I'm going to go for a long hike and some lunch with my wife. And then I'm going to do 3 hours again in the afternoon. And then I'm done, going to play with my kids, be present, whatever. And many people can do that. Maybe not to that extreme, but there might be plenty of people that can now say, right, I'm going to start work at 7, I'm going to stop at 11, I'm going to go to the gym, go for lunch, do 3 hours in the afternoon, then, you know, blah, 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 blah. So we get to flow. And as long as we have like our work set out for the week, you might be able to work a longer day here, a shorter day there. And that is the beautiful reality of how we can start to kind of balance and flow through work and home life and the other things as well. So that's a consideration as well. Now, when it comes to friction points within this conversation, I think there's a couple of things at play here. And I'll talk personally and I'll talk broadly from a coaching perspective. Now, the first thing that I really struggled with when it came to like I want more of X in my life. What that was initially was me not accepting and embracing a change of identity. Now, in my 20s, building up to my 30s, I was, single from the perspective of like, yes, I had a girlfriend. Excuse me, that's the COVID. I had a girlfriend, but responsibilities were like low, okay? So most of my working day was kind of mine. You'd see, your partner at the weekend, a bit in the week, and you have a huge amount of time. Now, when I came into my 30s, things changed a bit. I had a bit less time. We bought a house. Like you have responsibilities that then cause you to need time to give to those responsibilities, right? And then we had kids, and then, COVID happened. And what happened is I then, a couple of years later was living a very different life. The things that needed my time were very different. I had less flexibility because there was just things that I had to attend to, children, maintaining the house, jobs, that kind of stuff. So the initial friction was like, I don't have as much time to go traveling. I don't have as much time to go and do these longer fitness pursuits that I used to be able to do because I have responsibilities. And the initial point of friction there for me was simply one of non-acceptance. I was not accepting and embracing, and that's the key word here, embracing what had changed in my life. And part of this came from, and this is a second key point here, me not being in a good state of health. When you're not healthy, you will look for cheap fixes, cheap dopamine. You'll look to escape. You'll look to have more alcohol in your life. So living a life that is well balanced, healthy, productive has to come from a foundation of health. It has to, because otherwise you don't have energy. And think back to that previous podcast I did, state, story, strategy. If you're not in a good physiological state, your internal story will be fairly negative, and you will put together and implement poor strategies in your life. And this is the same thing. If you're not firing on all cylinders a lot of the time, not accounting for illness and kind of stuff like that, then it's going to be very hard for you to maximize your 16-hour day that you're awake, assuming that you're in bed for, roughly 8 hours. You're not going to be able to maximize that because you don't have the energy, you don't have the health, and that initially puts your internal story on the back foot. So one of these friction points for me where I was struggling to change my perspective was also a struggle because I didn't have my health. I had a long-term condition, I had long COVID and then testosterone deficiency, and that made my internal story fairly negative. I was playing the victim to life. Oh, if only I had this, level of health, I could go and do this. And what I've learned is that when you can get to a place of fully accepting your life for how it is, accepting yourself for who you are, then only then are you really ever going to be happy and fulfilled. Because that perspective has to happen for you to be happy, for you to be present. Like it has to. If you mourn a different life, if you're someone that comes out of their 20s, into their 30s, has some kids, gets a change of job, and you're mourning your 20-year-old life, you either need to accept or you need to say, why did I create this life? Like you created it. So we have to embrace the changes and the seasons of life. And there's very much seasons within our life. Like we have, the young, free, single Pringle seasons. We have the kind of young family years. And then we have the maturing years of our kids. And then we go through all these different seasons. And these seasons require us to grow and adapt and evolve. And work-life balance and the things that we do in work and outside of work will change. And we just have to be fully embracing and fully accepting of these changes. And I, for one, will admit that I fought it for too long. And in hindsight, I caused myself a lot of unhappiness because of that. But now I'm fully accepting and absolutely love everything that's in my life. And when you can have love and gratitude for your job, for your family, for the time that you do have, for the resources that you do have, then you can actually be really happy with whatever is generally happening in your life at any given time, because you approach it from a place of love and gratitude. Now let's get a little bit practical. Another point of friction when it comes to work-life balance is that outside of work, we don't have enough time to do the things that we say we want to do for a couple of reasons. One of those reasons is we don't say no to the things that we don't want to do. Sometimes people will come into our life, friends, families, acquaintances, they'll ask you to do things, and because you're a lovely, polite person, you say yes. But deep down you know that you should have said no. And now it's a point of friction for you because A, you don't really want to do the thing, and secondly, it's now stealing time from you being able to walk more, exercise more, paint more, cycle more, who knows, whatever it is that you want to do, but now that time is gone. So we have to implement personal boundaries, both for our personal lives with who we want to come in, the things that we're willing to do, and in our professional lives. Because if we don't have boundaries in our professional lives, especially as our professional lives grow and we start to get more responsibility, then we are at the mercy of other people taking our time. If in your work environment, you're the person that will take more work on, say that you'll work late, start a bit earlier, and it just becomes a cultural thing that you start to do that, and you become, over time, very willing to doing that, then you are going to lose time in your life. And what I find, and this is because I'm a business owner, and as a business owner, every hour counts. If you're willing to work 12 hours a day, you will work 12 hours a day. And quite often I find the work that you would have done in 7 or 8 hours, being hyper focused, you end up doing in 12 hours because you allow yourself 12 hours. It's like when you go on to a meeting and you say, oh yeah, cool, we'll put an hour in the diary for a meeting. That meeting could probably be done in 20 to 30 minutes, but you'll take up an hour of time because you've put an hour of time in the diary. And I'm a huge fan of short, tight, focused meetings on like, we're here to discuss these 3 things. Let's do it in 30 minutes. Let's get out of here. Everyone loves fast, efficient, productive, focused meetings because we're not losing life. And no one really wants to sit there wasting more time than they have to. So I'm a huge fan of challenging yourself professionally and personally to do things that we need or want to do in less time, because that frees up time for other things. So if I can do a meeting in half the time, why wouldn't I? If I can do my work day in 7 hours rather than 9, why wouldn't I? And sometimes when you create that pressure by forcing yourself to be in that environment, by saying, I'm going to work 7 hours today, you behave differently as an individual. It sharpens your mind. Like if I said, right, we're going to run a 5K today, and we just set off, we'll run it in the time that we run it. But if I say, right, we're going to run a 5K today in under 25 minutes, how much more sharper is your mind instantly? Because I've put a target and a framework around what we're going to do and why we're going to do it. And this is where we have to be really, I feel, even with ourselves, strict on our professional boundaries, because otherwise the work environment will always ask more of you. As an entrepreneur, I will always ask more of myself unless I put the boundary in place. So one of the things I have at work is I have a check-in process with my team. I'm like, I'm working here, this is what I'm doing, and then I'm gone. And I'll also have a timer on my computer that times the amount of work I'm going to do that day. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter, but I make sure that I never go over 7 hours. And I do this because what I found over time is if I work more than 7 hours, I just become a bit crap. Like I just lose that powerful momentum, that energy that I have, and I quite often find I can do less the next day. So doing more that day steals from the next day. It's like training really hard one day and then the next day you can't do as much because you're just kind of sore, you're beat up, you've kind of done a bit too much. So I definitely find that over time we should be constantly listening to the feedback that we're getting in our professional and personal lives of where we can optimize time and energy so that we can have more time in our personal lives. Because if we can have more time to just be, to just be present, to just enjoy things, I think that's really good. Because what I'm not saying in this podcast is I want you to get up and be hyper productive and fill your life with all of these things. I'm a huge fan now of almost like junk time, where I've got an hour and I can just do whatever I want. I can bimble around the house, I can read a book, I can watch some telly, I can take the dog for a walk, because I think that's really liberating for the soul. I think it can be highly stressful and problematic over time and lead to burnout if your life is get up, do a thing, go to work, get home, go to the gym, do a thing. And I can imagine for some people that is your life because your life has a lot of time pressures in it with work, kids, commute, etc. But if we can create space where we can just purely be and enjoy, I think that's really, really important. Now, continuing on the practical line of thinking, we have to be organised with everything that we want to do outside of work. So one of the things that I do at the beginning of the year, I look at the calendar and I say, right, what do I want to do this year from an adventure point of view? So I'm like, right, I want to go skiing, I want to go hiking, we're going to take the kids to centre parks, we're going to take the kids to Portugal, I'm going to try and do 3 long weekends with the wife. And I'm like, right, let's roughly plan that into the calendar. What months are we going here? Cool. So then you start to get a bit of like a map of how your macro adventures, the things that you're going to work towards and block out time from work and that kind of stuff, how that will look in terms of your month. And then what we can do is firstly be really happy that you've got loads of things to look forward to, because when you've got holidays and trips away and stuff in the diary, like you get excited, right? Like there's always something on the horizon to look forward to, and I think that's great for the soul. But also you're planning it in. It's, the amount of, especially entrepreneurs I hear, like, oh, when was the last time you went on holiday? Oh, I haven't really had time. Well, did you plan for it? No, because when you plan for things, you can work towards it, right? If I know I've got a holiday in 5 weeks' time, well, I organise my life in and around it to make sure the things that I need to get done before I go on holiday, right? So it's really important to plan on a macro level of all the things that you want to do on a big level. I love adventure. I love holidays. I love getting outside. I want all of these things in my life. So I plan for them in advance to make sure that they happen, because otherwise they just slip away. And I don't want that. And then on a micro level, so like a weekly, what are the things that you try and do in a week? And also, can you do them in a short amount of time? I think fitness is a great example, because a lot of people perform and do fitness outside of work. But many people will be like, right, I need to go to the gym. I need to go to the gym 4 days a week. I go to the gym for an hour. Well, if your time is pressurized, if you're trying to look and save for time, can you achieve the goal that you want to achieve by not going to the gym 4 hours a week? Perhaps you go to the gym 2 hours a week, and then in the other times you do a 20-minute HIIT body weight something at home. So you get to save time, save commute, etc. So I'm really a massive fan of trying to optimize things based on our goals, because what we can do is we can tell ourselves incorrect stories of what we need or how we need to do a thing to achieve a goal. So if I have the perspective that, to be in the shape or to have the fitness that I want to have, I need to go to the gym 4 days a week for 4 hours, then I'm going to have to factor that into my life. I'm going to live by that story. But if that story is incorrect and I could do it in less time to achieve the goal, then I should challenge myself with that, and I should challenge the story that I'm telling myself. So make sure that in this process we challenge our beliefs. When you start to say, I don't have time because of X, I'm unhappy because of Y, I need to do this to achieve that fitness goal, challenge that story. Is it true? It's one of the second words that I live by in my life. I talked to you about flow. The other one is truth. I'm always trying to seek the truth of life, the truth of self, and the truth of kind of science and nature and kind of all the things that help us shape a more clear future and present. I think it's really important, because I would hate you to hold on to a story that is stopping you from living a better, more productive life. Now, when it comes to looking at time outside of work, are there other ways that we can save time? Like, I don't watch a lot of telly because I like focusing my time on other things, like getting outside in nature, doing practical things, like reading. So if you're someone that says I don't have a lot of time, but you watch an hour and a half of TV every night, I would challenge the fact that you do have time, you're just choosing to spend it differently. But now you potentially have a choice to spend it differently again. But it might just be a routine thing. You need to break the routine and say, right, I'm going to commit to this, and this is what I want to do. Alcohol is another thing that can steal your time. Because you think about it, you kind of romanticize, you fantasize, and then the next day that might decrease your performance and focus, so it steals time from your life. And I'm so glad I've given up alcohol and had some in, I don't know, must be like 8 months now? 7 months. And it saved me time, saved me energy, and my health is better. Right, I'm just looking at my notes to make sure that I cover everything that I want to cover. Now, within this, there's obviously a partner situation. Like all of us, most of us would probably live with like a partner, kids. So you have to consider your needs and their needs and get a fair symbiosis of it, right? You know, my partner wants to go to the gym 3 days a week. She likes doing certain things. So we navigate our life around those blocks and I kind of help out. And then I don't really mind. My fitness is very flexible, so I train from home. It fits into my family life better. I'm able to be more flexible with it, and it just creates less stress in our life. But I know those anchors are really important for my wife, and I can be more flexible, where there's other things that are really important for me, and she's more flexible. So it kind of, again, flows, and we have this symbiosis to help kind of people out. Now, I want you to just reflect on everything that I've gone over so far, because I've got a list of notes. I always write notes for a podcast because I want to try and deliver as much value as possible and make sure that my thoughts are coherent. I think it's really important for you to stand back and go, right, if I don't have work-life balance right now, why is it? Like, where do I think that point of friction is? Is it time? Is it the stories that I'm telling myself? Is it the boundaries that I've put in place? Is it my current work situation? Is it the fact that I haven't asked for help? Is it the fact that I keep saying yes to things that I don't want to say yes to? Once you really boil down the problem and what's behind the problem, because you might say, and people say this all the time, I don't have enough time. But why is that? Is it a result of your behaviour? Is it a result of some of the goals that you have? Is it a result that you keep saying yes to other people? Like, look behind the phrases that you're using, challenge the stories, challenge the beliefs, and find the truth. Now, within that, I want to really zoom out here and finish on one key point here. One of the things that can hold us back is our perspective of how we grow over time. And what I want to lean on here is our professional lives. So most people, when we talk about work-life balance, we're actually looking at time. People want more time to do the things that they want to do, okay? Now, the thing that holds that back is working too much, right? So when we progress through our careers, we generally grow, we generally earn more, we generally attract or have more responsibility. And if you're not wary of what your key goal is, you'll lose sight and get caught up in what we might describe as the rat race. So if you are 30 years old, you're earning 30 grand a year, you're working 37 and a half hours a week, and you take a promotion, you now go to 42 grand a year, and you've got more responsibility, yada, yada, yada. What do? You expand financially. You start to maybe get a bigger house, maybe get a more expensive car, you start to buy nicer clothes, and you expand to now spend 42 grand a year, because most people live within their means. The amount of people that don't have savings and investments is shocking. If that's you, you should definitely look at that. It's a topic for another day and something I talk about in my book, How to Live an Awesome Life. And then you progress, you're 35 years old, you're now earning 45 grand a year. Okay, it's a bit more, you don't change your lifestyle too much, you maybe not go on a nicer holiday. And then you get to 40 years old, now you're earning 52 grand a year, you're like, yeah, let's upgrade our house now, your partner's got a better salary now, and you just keep expanding. And the problem is, if you keep expanding and keep living within your means, you have no or very limited potential to say, actually, this is what I want anymore. Because what I think people would love is to be ambitious and grow and earn well and get to a point, let's say hypothetically, that you're earning 50 grand a year. And I say that because statistically, most people are happy once they earn around 40 grand a year. It usually gives them the flexibility financially that they want to do the things that they want. So let's say you get to 50 grand a year. Now you could keep expanding your salary. And you could keep working the same amount of time, or you could make the bold decision by saying, hey, I don't actually want to work this much anymore, and I don't actually need 50 grand a year to live my life because I haven't continued to expand my living expenses. I'm going to now work 30 hours a week, and I'm going to take a pay cut down to 42 grand a year. Or you could be so good that you negotiate your salary to be the same and work in less, and you could improve your efficiency. Now there's a bold idea for you. But what that allows you to do is buy back some of your time. You don't need that money in the way that you needed it, because actually you haven't kept getting a bigger car, more expensive car, you haven't kept upgrading your house, yada, yada, yada. And actually you might be able to live from 45 onwards, working less, earning the same, and having all the money you need to live the life that you want to live. And do the things that we say we want to do outside of word, which is the word balance that many people have, will quote that they want more of. I'll leave you with those thoughts. If you have any questions on the show, or you want to challenge me on anything, then slip into my DMs on social media. I love all of this stuff. I love life design. It helps us live a more awesome life, and it helps us be an awesome human. All I ask is if you enjoy the show, you share it. And whenever you think, hey, I need a few supplements to support my physiological health, then please do check out Awesome Supplements, which is the thing I do by day. I am the founder of a supplement company. Anyway, I hope it's been helpful. Be an awesome human. Bye.